What is going on, everyone? This is Shields. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you're new here, hello. I am someone that does reactions for history, for things without, I lost my train of thought, but history, human culture, innovation, science, all those types of things. And today we're going to be talking about the travels of Marco Polo. And go ahead and give these people a subscription yourself. GeoHistory, watched one of their videos before, but not on a video. But today, of course, is going to be Marco Polo. He is, we just did a video the other day about Venice, and he's actually a Venetian himself. This is an 800, I think they're about 800 years ago, something like that. He's very famous. I mean, Marco Polo is synonymous today in our zeitgeist as a game, but of course, it's a name of a person. I forget. I don't know if he circumnavigated or he was just mainly looking for a route to China. I know he was definitely over there in the Aztec Sea when it comes to his travels. So, yeah, let's jump right into it, guys.
Marco Polo is born in 1254 in Venice into a wealthy family of traveling merchants. At this time, the Republic of Venice controls the main maritime trade routes in the Mediterranean basin.
I didn't know that. So we're about 800 years removed, and we're about 800 years removed. Sorry, we're about 800 years removed from the Roman Empire almost, and about 800 years away from modern time. So it's like a really interesting piece right here, right dead in the middle. But of course, this is a time where so many things are up for grabs here in terms of land. The Frankish Empire has expanded. Constantinople, kind of like the mecca for all things on this map right here. So let's just watch and see what they got to say.
Importing Asian products, among others.
Silk Road.
Asia is still very much unknown in Europe, despite that a few years earlier, the Mongol Empire, during its conquests, had shaken all of Europe by moving rapidly across the continent. The situation has since calmed down, and only a handful of Europeans have ventured as far as Karakorum, the capital of the Mongol Empire.
I think this is the capital. Isn't Karakorum the capital of Mongolia today?
For diplomatic and religious missions. When Marco Polo is born, his father Niccolo is probably unaware that he now has a son and stays in Constantinople with his brother Maffeo to do business.
And is this the Byzantine Empire at this time?
When Marco Polo is 5 years old, his mother dies. At the same time, Niccolo and Maffeo, seeing tensions rising between the Latins and the Greeks, leave Constantinople and go to do business in Asia. They enter the Golden Horde and reach the capital, Sarai Berke, where they sell jewels to the court of the Khan. They then continue their journey and reach...
We got to do some videos about the Mongol Empire. What an interesting lost civilization that has been encapsulated to modern-day Mongolia today.
Bukhara, where they reside for several years. The great Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, hears about the two Venetians and wants to meet them. They are escorted to him. Kublai Khan entrusts them with a letter intended for the Pope, inviting the pontiff to send Christian scholars to...
Isn't that crazy how connected history is? Marco Polo's dad met the grandson of Genghis Khan, and he wants them to courier a note to the Pope. Crazy.
The Polo brothers then leave for Europe with the help of a paisa, that is to say, a gold tablet that allows them to travel safely throughout the Mongolian Empire.
Oh, so is it like a get-out-of-jail-free card?
Obtaining free accommodation and food. After 3 years of travel, they arrive in Venice, and Niccolo discovers his son Marco Polo, who's now 15 years old.
Dang.
But the previous year, Pope Clement IV died, and the cardinals are slow in finding a successor. After 2 years of waiting, while the election of the Pope drags
Dang, this guy's gonna have to wait 2 years for a response. He's gonna invade again.
on, the Polos give up their mission and leave again so as not to keep the Great Khan waiting. This time, Marco Polo accompanies them. They reach Acre, from where they depart to
Damascus, not Acre. Acre. I don't know what I'm saying. Acre is modern day Israel.
Ayas in the Armenian kingdom of Cilicia, allied to the Mongol Empire. But at the same time, in Viterbo in Italy, the cardinals finally agreed to elect a new pope. It is Teobaldo Visconti, who lives in Acre and who met with the Polos. Learning of his coronation, Visconti urgently sends a messenger to Ayas to catch up with them. On their return, the new pope, who will be renamed Gregory X, gives them letters intended for the Great Khan, and 2 Dominican monks join the expedition. The 5 men set out again to Ayas, but Cilicia is threatened by the Mamluks as the 2 powers compete on trade between Asia and Europe. Feeling insecure, the 2 monks decide to turn back. The 3 Polo men continue alone and enter the Ilkhanate. They pass by Tabriz, the capital. Marco Polo is amazed by the markets in the city and the numerous colored carpets. They then continue on their journey southward through the arid zones to reach Hormuz, whose port is a starting point towards the Indies and the Far East, from where spices and precious stones come. The
Interesting. Very interesting so far.
Polos planned to leave by sea, but they're not reassured by the Arab ship
So he's about 20 years old now. Marco is.
called dhows, which to them seemed too unstable to face storms. They therefore decide to continue on foot via the land routes of the Silk Road. They reach the high plateaus of Pamir, surrounded by immense mountains, where
So they're near the Tibetan area now, I'm guessing.
they discover a variety of mouflon, which is today called the Marco Polo sheep. Arriving at Kashgar, they pass to the south in a short corridor between the Taklamakan Desert and the elevated Tibetan Plateau. Then they reach the first Chinese city, Guangzhou, today called Zhangyi. They discover their Buddhism, which is
My goodness, they didn't even need a boat. They're just discovering the world on foot at this point. Do they have a caravan or something? Like, how are they? Interesting.
completely unknown to them. In a temple in the city is the largest reclining Buddha in China.
Is this under the Mongol Empire, I'm guessing?
They stay there for a while until an escort comes to get them. Since the Polo brothers' stay in Karakoram 8 years earlier, the situation has changed. The Mongols are at war with the Song dynasty
And they about killed everybody at this point.
that they are now conquering, and Kublai Khan has founded the Yuan dynasty, moving his capital to Khanbalik, the city of the Khan, now known as Beijing.
That's crazy.
300 kilometers to the north is Xanadu, the summer capital. In 1274, the Polo family arrives there, and they stay in the sumptuous marble palace. Marco Polo seems to have made a good impression on the Great Khan, who decides
So, this is the history stuff I yearn for. This is so cool.
to hire him in his diplomatic service. We don't know exactly what his function is, but we do know that he will travel to the farthest reaches of China. In the capital, he discovers bills made from mulberry bark. Once dried, blackened, and with the imperial seal, they are exchanged for gold and precious stones. This is probably
Currency.
the first time that a European has discovered banknotes. In one or more
That's interesting. That's interesting because most things have been dealt with coins at this point, right?
trips, he explores the Southwest. He is quickly impressed by the highly developed road system. Trees are planted all along the roads to make them visible from afar, to stop people from getting lost in winter, and to protect them from the sun in summer. Every 25 to 30 miles, an imperial post house provides lodging and horses to the merchants and messengers of the Great Khan, which makes it possible to circulate information very quickly throughout the empire. After crossing the Sichuan and Yunnan mountains, he reaches the Mekong River, which forms the border with the kingdom of Pagan. The latter is defeated by the Mongols, who occupy the capital Pagan from 1287. It might therefore be possible that Marco Polo went there and saw the thousands of temples and pagodas which were covered with gold.
I wonder what he was thinking. Like, but he is Venetian, so he's seen wealth, but not that type of gone.
Marco Polo also explored the southeast. Here, after crossing the Yellow River, the landscape is flat with huge expanses of water, allowing for massive rice production. He arrives in Yangyu, where he says he'd replaced the governor for 3 years. Further south, he discovers Suzhou, a city with many canals, which is known as the City of Silk. Finally, he arrives in Qinghai, the ancient capital of the Song dynasty. The city is huge and very modern, with paved roads, which are still very rare in Europe, and numerous stone houses in the center. Marco Polo stays there for 3 years and probably plays an important administrative role. In any case, he has access to secret information, such as the amount of taxes collected by the Great Khan, especially from the salt trade. Finally, he reaches Quanzhou, which he named.
This guy's very trusted to be like behind enemy lines because the Khan, from what I know, are not to be screwed with. And this Venetian's just having himself a self tour.
Named Zaitan, and which is a huge international commercial port. After 16 years in
Zaitan. So there's modern day Taiwan right there too. Zaitan, eventually Hong Kong, or is that more down?
China, the 3 Polo men wished to return to Venice. At the same time, an embassy sent by the Ilkhan asks Kublai Khan for a new wife to replace his deceased queen. The latter accepts and sends the Princess Kokachin, accompanied by an embassy of 600 people. The Polos take advantage of this and join the expedition, which leaves Zaitan aboard 14 ships. At Sumatra, they make a stopover.
Sumatra. Modern day Malaysia. Or Indonesia.
For 5 months to wait the end of the monsoon. Marco Polo sees elephants and Sumatran rhinoceroses, which he calls unicorns. Finally, the embassy leaves and reaches Ceylon, which abounds in precious stones and pearls. After sailing along the western coast of India, they reach Hormuz, then go back to Tabriz to deliver the princess.
Wow.
Once their mission is accomplished, the Polos set out again towards the west
about 40 now.
Until Trebizond, where they're attacked and stripped of part of their wealth. Finally, they set sail and reach Venice 24 years after their departure.
That's crazy.
Their family, who thought they were dead, struggled to recognize them. A few years later, a conflict breaks out between Venice and its great rival Genoa. Marco Polo, during a battle, is made prisoner. He's incarcerated with a certain Rustichello de Pisa, a writer and poet. Marco Polo dictates to him in detail what he had observed in Asia. And
that's really cool. Circumstantial. Maybe some of this information never reaches me or you.
Rustichello takes notes and writes a book entitled The Travels of Marco Polo.
That's crazy.
After the peace between Genoa and Venice, Marco Polo is released, and his book quickly becomes a big success.
I wonder how many people did similar things as Marco Polo. It's not recognized. So we just got to keep that in mind, people. Some people are not giants. They're just recognized as giants.
It's translated and copied manually dozens of times, probably resulting in some errors or changes. Europe discovers Asia and is now passionate about the riches of this continent. Marco Polo
Wait, they never knew Asia, really? And China, really? I thought the Silk Road had been going on before this. Maybe I'm wrong.
marries Donata, with whom he has 3 daughters, and dies in 1324 at the age of 69. More than 2 centuries later, his book will still inspire many explorers, such as Christopher Columbus, who, during his travels in America,
Española.
thinking to be in Asia, has long sought to meet the Great Khan. More recently, some question Marco Polo's journey, especially as it lacks elements that today seem indispensable, such as the Great Wall of China, tea, or Chinese calligraphy. On the other hand, Marco Polo sometimes describes in a very precise way certain details that he could not have invented, and which seem to prove that he saw them with his own eyes. Additionally, Marco Polo has not been found in Chinese archives, but it's very likely that he was...
Well, if I'm not mistaken, this was also at a time where the Khan were ruling. So China might not be at the will right there. Will it? Will it be valid to say that?
known under another name. Finally, some
And there's another, yeah, translations.
passages describe legends or regions that he couldn't have seen given his itinerary, but of which he may have heard, such as oil springs in the Caucasus or Japan, which he named Cipango.
We learned a little bit today about Marco Polo. I did not. First off, I knew it was Venetian, and that's about it. And I knew it was in the Asiatic Sea at some point. I didn't know this all kind of like brought on at the same time as Genghis Khan's grandson, and this was more or less like an occupational like Khan moment where they were led through Asia, and then he just self-toured himself through China, kind of just went city by city, learned the culture, and then finally gets his journey, goes by Sumatra, modern day to India, and then finally it's on back to Venice. Wow. That was interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know below. If you First off, let me know if you have recently played the game Marco Polo. And then 2, let me know if you think there's an explorer to also watch out for. When I say watch out for, let's react to it. Marco Polo is one, probably I would say he's probably a Mount Rushmore of explorers, but there's plenty others, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.